In the silence of the morning, even before the sun fully appears, there is a precious moment that can change the course of the entire day: gratitude. Imagine waking up and, instead of rushing to your worries, you pause, take a deep breath, and give thanks. Thanking for the small and big things, for life, for the chance to start over, for another day that God gives us. It's like adjusting a lens that clears the vision for what really matters. By practicing this habit, the mind aligns with what is good, pure, and worthy of praise, transforming even the hardest days into opportunities for resilience. And look, the Bible already teaches us. In everything give thanks. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 18. Because it's not about what we have, but how we see what we have. Morning gratitude is like turning on a light in a dark room. It dispels the shadows of discouragement and brings clarity. It is at this time that God whispers to the heart, reminding us that despite everything, He is present. The day begins with more lightness when we allow ourselves to recognize that everything comes from Him and for Him. This strengthens our confidence because, by giving thanks, we declare our faith that all things work together for the good of those who love God. It's no wonder that many wise in faith always start their days like this. With a grateful heart, they plant seeds of love and hope early on. And you know what's fascinating? Gratitude has a way of opening doors we didn't even know were locked. When we give thanks, our perspective changes. We start seeing solutions where there were only problems before. God gives us the resilience to face whatever comes because we know we are in His hands. This habit is not just a spiritual practice but a true shield against pessimism. That's why so many find strength in moments of weakness, because by starting the day with gratitude, we reaffirm our connection with the divine light that guides us. We have so much to learn from the scriptures about how a grateful heart can transform lives. The Bible is full of stories of men and women who, even in the midst of trials, found reasons to be thankful. This teaches us that gratitude does not depend on circumstances but on an internal decision to recognize God's goodness in every detail. It is a daily reminder that, regardless of the struggles, His grace is sufficient to sustain us. By cultivating gratitude, we not only draw closer to God but also inspire those around us. It's like lighting a flame that illuminates not just our path but also that of those walking beside us. Every expression of thanks is a declaration of trust in the divine plan, a firm step in the direction of faith. And when the day starts like this, full of love and clarity, it's impossible not to feel that we are prepared for any challenge that may arise. After waking up with gratitude in the heart, there is a subtle and powerful invitation that calls us to deepen this connection: intentional and fervent prayer. Imagine setting aside a moment of your day to talk to God, away from the distractions and noises of everyday life. It's not just any conversation but a profound meeting, where you pour out your heart before the Creator, seeking guidance, protection, and wisdom. Jesus, in His walk on earth, set the perfect example. He would rise early while it was still dark and go to a solitary place to pray. Mark 1 verse 35. And this practice is not just a ritual but a refuge, a chance to align thoughts and desires with God's plans. Setting aside this time for genuine prayer is like finding an oasis in the middle of the desert. In the stillness, God speaks to us, calming our anxieties and strengthening our faith. It's impressive how a sincere conversation can transform a heavy heart into one full of hope and confidence. It's not about rehearsed words or formalities. It's about opening the soul, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and letting the divine presence renew the spirit. By praying intentionally, we acknowledge that we do not have all the answers but trust in the one who does. And this trust fills us with a peace that surpasses all understanding. Many wonder how to develop a more meaningful prayer life. The key lies in intention and consistency. It's not about the number of words but the quality of the time spent in God's presence. Even if it's a short period, if it's genuine and dedicated, it will make all the difference. Imagine creating a small space at home, a special corner where nothing interrupts this sacred moment. There, it's possible to find a clarity that the world cannot offer, a resilience that only communion with God brings. Fervent prayer is more than requests. It's also about listening. Sometimes we rush so much to speak that we forget to pause and let God respond. He speaks in so many ways, through the scriptures, an inexplicable peace, or even a whisper in the heart. And most often, this response comes in the form of clarity for the dilemmas we face, showing that no matter how uncertain the path seems, we are not alone. Praying is an act of absolute trust. It's relinquishing control and allowing God to guide with love and wisdom. After praying fervently, the next step is to delve into the scriptures, where we find divine wisdom and guidance for the day. Reading the Bible in the morning is like turning on a lamp in the darkness, illuminating the path with God's truth. It is at this moment that the words come to life, offering not only comfort but also direction and purpose. The Bible, as a lamp to our feet and a light to our path, Psalm 119 verse 105, guides us amid the uncertainties of life. And it's not just about reading, but meditating, absorbing, and applying these teachings in every decision we make. Meditating on the scriptures is an exercise of the soul that goes beyond mere reading. It is allowing each word to seep into the heart and transform the mind. It's like a silent dialogue where God speaks, and we listen attentively. In these moments, it is common to find answers to questions that trouble us, as well as a renewal of hope and faith. The Bible is not just an ancient book but a living manual of love, resilience, and clarity. For those seeking to start the day with the mind and spirit aligned, reading the Word is the first and most important step. And there is so much to explore. Passages like Psalm 23, which brings comfort in difficult times, or Proverbs, which offer practical wisdom for daily life. Each page is an invitation to learn more about God's character and His unconditional love for us. The morning reading can be short, but its impact is deep, shaping our character and strengthening our trust in God. And by meditating on these words, we find the strength to face any challenge because we know we are rooted in an unchanging truth. The habit of reading and meditating on the scriptures also prepares us to be light in the world. By absorbing Jesus' words of love and hope, we are empowered to spread this light to those around us. It's like drinking from an inexhaustible source of wisdom and throughout the day, reflecting that wisdom in our attitudes, words, and decisions. Meditating on the scriptures is a constant reminder that we are called to something greater, to live a life that glorifies God in all aspects. For many, it may seem challenging to include Bible reading in the daily routine, but the key is to start small and be consistent. It's not about quantity but the quality of the time invested. Even a few minutes dedicated to meditation can transform the perspective of the whole day. It's a commitment of faith, a moment that replenishes us with peace and clarity, bringing to the forefront what really matters, our relationship with God. After diving into the scriptures, a habit that can further transform the spiritual journey is to declare God's verses and promises out loud. Imagine starting the day confidently affirming the promises the Lord made to us, filling the environment with words of life and faith. This practice not only reinforces confidence but also constantly reminds us of God's power and faithfulness. By making these declarations, we are literally speaking God's truth over our lives, as if we were engraving these promises on our hearts. Joshua was instructed to meditate on God's word and continuously declare it. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Joshua 1 verse 8. This shows that there is real power in proclaiming the word. Declaring verses is more than a routine. It is an act of faith and resistance against the doubts and fears that try to bring us down. Every spoken word is a reminder that, regardless of circumstances, God is with us, guiding and protecting. Imagine the strength that comes from starting the day declaring, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Philippians 4 verse 13, or, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Psalm 23 verse 1. These words resonate in the spirit and prepare the mind to face any challenge, knowing we are not alone. And there is something almost therapeutic about speaking aloud, isn't there? The vibration of the words surrounds us, and the act of declaring strengthens our faith in a way that mere thought cannot. Repeating God's promises out loud is like building a wall of spiritual protection around us, blocking negative thoughts and filling our minds with clarity and light. By memorizing and declaring these verses, we are strengthening our connection with God and reminding ourselves of His immense love and care. Moreover, this practice has the power to change the environment around us. It's not just about what happens internally, God's words have the power to transform the external as well. By declaring His word, we create a space where God's presence is felt, a place where faith grows and hope flourishes. It's as if each declaration were a seed planted, which over time bears fruit of resilience, love, and trust. And when we speak of God's promises, we are also training our minds to focus on what is eternal, on what is good. In a world where we are constantly bombarded by negativity, declaring the word is a form of resistance, a reminder that our hope is not in fleeting things but in the Creator's faithfulness. This helps us maintain focus, not diverting attention to problems, but to the solutions that come from God. After declaring God's promises, the next step is to plan the day with purpose, always seeking divine guidance for each decision. It's not just about listing tasks but about aligning our goals with God's will, placing our plans in His hands. When we say, "Lord, guide my steps today," we are putting our activities under His direction, trusting that He will show us the best way. As it says in Proverbs 16 verse 3, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." This is the secret to a productive and meaningful day. Planning with purpose is much more than being efficient. It is being effective in what truly matters. It's about prioritizing what glorifies God, what brings peace and edification. By asking for divine guidance, we find clarity to distinguish between the urgent and the important, between what is temporary and what has eternal value. Imagine starting the day by asking God, "What do you want me to do today?" This simple question can transform our agenda, bringing focus and direction that go beyond what we can see or predict. And this practice of including God in daily plans is an ongoing exercise of trust and surrender. By doing this, we acknowledge that, as much as we have control over some things, He is in command of everything. It's an act of faith that reminds us that even if not everything goes as planned, if our goals are aligned with God's will, we are on the right path. And so, even setbacks are opportunities for learning and growth because everything contributes to our good when we walk with Him. Many feel overwhelmed with endless lists of tasks and commitments, but when we hand over each of these tasks to God, the burden becomes lighter. It's like sharing the weight with someone who can carry much more than we can. By including God in our planning, we gain resilience to deal with the unforeseen and patience to keep going, even when things don't go as expected. This habit gives us the peace of knowing that we are not alone, and that our effort is not in vain. And there is an additional benefit in planning with purpose: the satisfaction of knowing that we are living according to a greater plan. Each task completed, each meeting, and each challenge faced takes on new meaning when we recognize that we are part of the divine plan. It's as if, throughout the day, we could see the pieces of the puzzle fitting together, reminding us that everything is under God's control. This encourages us to keep going, to persevere, and to do everything as unto the Lord. In the fast pace of the day, setting aside moments for praise and worship may seem challenging, but it is a habit that brings profound renewal. Praise, whether by singing or listening to music that exalts God, is a way to connect the heart with heaven. It's as if, for a few minutes, we set aside worries and remember God's greatness, placing Him at the center of everything. Psalm 100 verses 1-2 invites us to enter God's presence with joy and gratitude. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before Him with joyful songs. This practice is not just to cheer the heart but to prepare the spirit for whatever comes ahead. Praising God is recognizing who He is, regardless of circumstances. It doesn't matter if the day started well or if we've already faced a setback early on. Praise elevates the soul and repositions us before God, reminding us of His sovereignty. By singing songs of worship, we are transported to a place of peace and hope, where God's love is present. It's like a balm that heals the wounds of the soul, bringing clarity and light to daily challenges. This is one of the secrets of those with unshakable faith. They not only face difficulties but also know how to find refuge in worship. Morning praise is a powerful way to start the day on the right foot, aligning the spirit with the divine purpose. It is a moment of intimacy with God, where the words of the songs become sung prayers, and the heart fills with faith and confidence. Imagine starting the day with a hymn that exalts God's faithfulness, or a song that speaks of His provision and care. These melodies echo in the mind throughout the day, reminding us that God is worthy of all honor and glory and that nothing is beyond His control. And the impact of praise is not just spiritual, it also touches our emotional and even physical well-being. Studies show that music has the power to reduce stress and elevate mood, and when this music is focused on God, the effects are even deeper. It's like a boost of encouragement and resilience that equips us to face any adversity. Furthermore, by praising God, we are fulfilling our highest purpose, to glorify Him in everything we do. This is the true meaning of living a life of worship. For many, praise may seem like something reserved for Sunday services, but in truth, it is a lifestyle that can be cultivated every day. Just a few minutes in the morning to listen to that song that touches the heart and brings us closer to God. And if singing isn't your strong suit, just listening with an open heart is enough to feel the divine presence. Worship is less about the act itself and more about the attitude of the heart, about putting God first and allowing Him to lead the rest of the day. Looking at the scriptures, we find great examples of people who started their days seeking God, and it's inspiring to see how these morning habits shaped their journeys. David, known as a man after God's own heart, was someone who did not give up his moments of worship early in the morning. He declares in Psalm 5 verse 3, "In the morning, Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly." This discipline was not just a ritual but a way of renewing his faith and finding direction for the challenges he faced as a king and leader. Another remarkable example is Daniel, a man who, even in a foreign land, maintained his commitment to pray 3 times a day, with a constancy that did not waver even in the face of threats of death. His dedication was such that, even when he was thrown into the lion's den, his faith remained unshakable. The practice of seeking God early in the morning gave him the strength needed to face challenges with resilience and courage. Daniel's story shows us that regardless of circumstances, a heart connected with God is a strong heart. And we cannot forget Jesus, who frequently withdrew to solitary places before dawn to pray. This constant practice of seeking the Father was the source of his strength and wisdom. Even being the Son of God, Jesus prioritized this time of intimacy with the Father, showing the importance of starting the day anchored in the divine presence. This habit of morning prayer shaped his actions and words, influencing every miracle and teaching. For those who follow in his steps, this practice is a powerful reminder that our strength comes from God. These examples are not just ancient stories, they are living invitations for us to adopt habits that strengthen our faith. Whether through prayers, praise, or meditation on the scriptures, these morning moments with God have the power to transform the course of the day. It's fascinating to see how, by following these examples, we can also experience a spiritual renewal that goes beyond what is visible. Each morning becomes a new opportunity to start over, to align the heart with the divine purpose, and to find peace amid life's storms. The beauty of these biblical accounts lies in the simplicity and consistency of the practices. It wasn't about how much time they dedicated, but about the intention and frequency with which they sought God. This consistency is what makes all the difference, and it's something we can all achieve. Reflecting on these habits, we realize that it's not about perfection but persistence. And it is this persistence in faith that helps us face daily battles with a renewed and confident spirit. Adopting morning spiritual habits goes beyond a simple routine. It's an investment in yourself that brings benefits touching the body, mind, and soul. When we start the day with practices that strengthen our faith, we are actually preparing fertile ground for peace and resilience to flourish. Imagine waking up with a calm mind, knowing that God is in control and that every challenge can be faced with courage and clarity. There is a sense of hope that fills the heart, a constant reminder that we are not alone on this journey. These habits not only help strengthen faith but also have profound emotional impacts. By starting the day with gratitude, prayer, and meditation on the scriptures, we create space for God to speak directly to our hearts, guiding our emotions and thoughts. Anxiety, so common nowadays, loses its grip when we face the day with the certainty that God walks beside us. The Bible repeatedly reminds us that He is our rock and refuge, and maintaining these daily habits reinforces this truth within us. Additionally, the physical benefits are also notable. practices like meditation on the scriptures and intentional prayer have been associated with reducing stress and improving overall well-being. It's as if, by handing our worries to God early on, we relieve a burden that could follow us throughout the day. The tranquility that comes from knowing our lives are in the hands of a loving God directly impacts our health, bringing not just a sense of peace but also helping keep the body in balance. And there's something powerful about starting the day with purpose. Planning with God's guidance, praising, and declaring His promises bring a focus that often lacks in the hustle of everyday life. By setting our priorities based on God's will, we avoid distractions that take us away from what really matters. This kind of clarity gives us the confidence to make wise decisions, knowing that we are aligned with God's greater plan for our lives. Another fundamental benefit of these habits is the strengthening of our spiritual resilience. Life is full of ups and downs, and no one is exempt from facing challenges. But when the day starts rooted in God's Word and prayer, we gain a different perspective. We see difficulties not as insurmountable obstacles but as opportunities to trust in the Lord even more. It is a reminder that even in the midst of storms, our anchor is firm and secure. And now that you know these habits that can transform your spiritual life, tell me, which of them do you already practice? Or which one will you start incorporating into your routine? Leave your comment below. I really want to know. And don't forget to continue learning more about how to strengthen your faith and walk with God daily. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. How about taking this step today? Let's go together on this journey.